I was sleeping through the day. Next I knew, occasionally waking up thinking about how messy the place had become, how much cleaning was required, and how I could barely stay on top of it. The day-to-day chores were really keeping me from making the kind of progress I wanted to on important things. I decided to give up on the beer. I wasn't going to grow any more hops. I had a ton of the stuff, and if I decided to leave here, I wasn't going to be able to bring it all with me anyways. While I was sleeping, Fio got fully healed. She jumped on up, head out. Good for her. I regret stripping her now. She's out in the world, naked and alone. I'm sure she'll find her way, though. After waking up, I did my cleaning. Most of it, anyway. Had a little bit of food, followed by some more cleaning. Then I had some more food. I butchered up the last of the bears after that. Decided I'd better get all my traps rebuilt. That should be a priority, the way things go around here. People always coming in trying to kill me. Those traps are the only thing that kept me around as long as I have been. After building one, I had myself a bit of garden coffee. Made sure all the lights, heat and cooling turned off in Fio's room. Then I decided to toss some horseshoes. Nothing like a good relaxing horseshoe toss. Be nice to have somebody to toss with, but it is what it is. After that, back to building traps. And then one of them bears had wandered off and died. So I brought that bear on in, got him butchered up. At the very least, I could make a bunch of pet food out of this bear meat. And with all these animals running around, pet food was a commodity I required. In the meantime, I kept building traps. And there were only a few left. Steel reserves weren't doing as great as I'd like them to be. So once this trap building was done, I'd have to get around to mining some of that steel out of the ground. Shouldn't need too much though. That giant raccoon thing is still wandering around. Didn't do me much good, so I decided I was going to butcher that thing. I did replant my corn. Don't want to get lax with the food. Way things burn up around here, things could turn south for me. Decided to do some mining, and for that I was going to need a torch, so I had to chop a tree or two down in order to make it happen. No sense running back inside, get some more wood when there's a ton of trees about. So I cut a few trees down, built my torch, and did some mining. Made decent progress on that before deciding to call it a day. It was about 7 at night. I had an alpaca decide to get friendly at that point. And the more the merrier. I was going to need some pack animals. I was off to bed after that. Hamlet joined me. When I woke up, once again, more cleaning. And my beer was ready. That might just be the last of the beer. I ate some raw meat. There was so much of it, but I didn't mind so much. Then I had myself a beer as well. Nothing like that to help a guy relax. I was back to mining for a quick minute before deciding to call that, haul in what I could. Wasn't a lot left to do for the mining, so I worked on it a little bit more. I'd replenished my stocks decently. Hamlet had helped me haul a bunch of it. Best dog ever. Got that steel brought in, had another garden coffee. The alpacas and the dogs are running around like crazy, having a grand old time. I was having a beer. Then I killed that giant raccoon before I could eat up any more of the pet food I had. Thing had a voracious appetite. It was about that time I Started feeling shivery, sweaty. Turns out I had the flu. Treated myself the best I could. Had myself a meal as well. Those alpacas are going to need some attention if they're going to stay tame, so I gave it a shot but didn't have much luck. Hamlet needed some attention as well, and he's a quick learner. After that, I was off to bed. This flu was kicking my butt already. That wasn't good, so I decided I better stay in bed quite a while. I certainly wasn't getting the better of this flu, that's for sure. I felt pretty horrible, but I had to keep getting up to eat, being that I didn't want to get malnourished and have the flu. Wouldn't be long in that situation before I couldn't even walk. Despite my rest and my eating, the flu was getting the better part of me. So I laid about, getting up for food and treatment as I needed to, trying to take it as easy as possible. Turns out when you're sick, it's not that easy to go about treating yourself. And you do gotta periodically get up to eat, thus breaking your rest cycle. But it was all I could do to stay alive. Slowly but surely, I was getting the better of the flu. It was rather touch or go, I will say. Ship chunks were falling out of the sky. There wasn't much I could do about that. The flu continued to kick my butt. I continued to try and take care of myself. Hamlet had stocked up my herbal meds on the shelf near my bed. I had to get up, spend a little time just sitting there trying to enjoy my day, despite feeling pretty horrible. Most of my time, though, I'd spend in bed when I wasn't eating, trying to tend myself, which again, I wasn't having the best luck at. I kept eating, and I kept tending myself, and it was a rather tenuous situation for a rather long time. Not much more I could do than lay in bed, do the best I can. Fortunately, I had some luck tending myself from time to time, and I made sure that I ate when I needed to, even occasionally stopping, have myself a garden coffee, despite all the caffeine. Slowly but surely, I was overcoming that flu, but I didn't dare get up, try and do something with myself, other than relaxing things, just to keep my spirits up. The last thing I needed was to snap again, wander around lost, till I died. I was tossing some horseshoes, feeling rather hungry, so I had a little pemmican, and me and Hamlet were off to bed. Things are still not as great as I would have liked them to be, but they were slowly improving. Flu was certainly increasing, but I think I was beating it. A little bit of luck and a lot of rest. While I was sleeping, a mad alpaca showed up, running around like a madman, going nuts really. Certainly wasn't anything I could do about that though, and he couldn't get inside, so I wasn't terribly worried. My flu was ever increasing. I had a transport pod crash down nearby as well. Kazumi wasn't a hostile. Seemed like a decent person, but once again, there wasn't squat I could do. The flu continued to worsen, so I laid, got up and ate as I needed to. I also had a garden coffee, pick up my mood a bit. I was back to bed. Eventually, though, I did develop an immunity to that flu, and it felt good, despite the extreme sickness, to finally be getting a little bit better. First thing I did was got up and took a walk around, just to blow off some stress, see what kind of shape the place was in. The mad alpaca had died on a trap. Hamlet got him brought in, so I butchered that up. One of my coolers had broken down, so I got that fixed as well. And then I was going to have to do so much cleaning. First, some food was in order, followed by rebuilding that trap the alpaca had destroyed. Security must be tantamount here. So after rebuilding that trap, I ran on inside and got to cleaning. After having a little more food, I had to catch up on my eating during my recovery here. And the cleaning was going to take a little while. This place was so trashed. But eventually, I got it all done. Hamlet needed a little attention. Get that guy trained up again, which didn't take much. He's a good boy. I was going to need some more pemmican as well. The stocks were low. So I made a little bit. Decided to haul some supplies around. Make the situation faster. And I vowed to keep the kitchen clean while doing so. Then I set to cooking. And that's what I focused on. Stopping for a meal occasionally. And making sure the kitchen was clean. I don't need to be getting sick. Eventually, I was off to bed. Feeling better every minute at this point. Good thing I'd grown all that medicine. I'd be in a bad spot. When I woke up, I cooked. I ate. And then I got back to cooking. A little bit of cleaning. Usual stuff. My pemmican stocks were growing again. That was great. Decided to get done with the cooking, sit down and play some chess for a minute. I don't know how this place gets so dirty, but it sure does. My animals are getting a little low on food as well. Something's going to have to be done about that. After cooking myself a little more, I decided to make the food for the animals, lest they start starving. There's so many of them around here. And Aurora was on, which was nice to see as I was out and about. I got the cooking area cleaned up, all the food put away. Got some wort put in the fermenting barrel, probably be my last batch. And then I was off to bed, still feeling sick. But that did fade, and for once, in a long time, felt like forever, I actually felt normal. When I woke up, I cleaned a bit, ate some food, tried to train an alpaca, and I had some success. A cold snap struck while I was sitting down to research. I was going to have to make a few more animal beds, so I decided to get to that. Didn't have enough material to finish one of the ones I'd planned from before, but I certainly had plenty of leather around. All the various critters that have come in had to be butchered, so I made a few beds, sat down to do some research once again. I was about halfway getting microelectronics figured out. Squirrel decided to get friendly with me about that time. What the hell, at this point, the more the merrier. I was going to butcher him, though. That's what I did. Certainly don't need any squirrels running around. Another mouth to feed. Not worth the trouble. A wild woman was still out and about, and she was freezing, naked. She'd gone down, suffering from some pretty bad hypothermia, and laid around long enough to get malnourished. So I turned on my heater, brought her in. When I laid her down, some fella showed up. He decided he was going to join me, wanted to hang out for a while. He had pretty bad asthma, which is gonna need treating. I sent him on his way though. He's on his feet. He should be able to figure it out on his own. The wild woman joined me as well. For now, she was laid up, wouldn't be doing anything. So I decided to let her lay. I tended her. She had some frostbite. She was old, frail, but I could probably get her back to health. I went to bed, feeling pretty decent for once. The wild woman got up and decided to eat some of my food, which is alright, I guess. At least I didn't have to feed her myself. Cargo pods fell out of the sky, and it was a bunch of blueberries. And that was going to be useful. Since my corn crops had all mostly died away in the cold snap, the wild woman was fully healed. I got a call about an item stash, some kind of infinite reactor, some kind of pain stopper. It was relatively close, only about a day and a quarter away. I decided maybe I'd go get that. My batteries have been low for quite a while. Something like that really help a guy out. I told the wild woman she couldn't stay any longer. Sent her on her way. First I decided to let her have a meal, as she was hungry. And then I gave her walking papers, which didn't make me feel great. It was nice to have somebody to chat with. But in the end, don't need another mouth to feed, don't need the trouble. As I was sitting down to research, she was making her way on out of the homestead area. It was still cold, and she was naked. If she had wanted some clothes, I would have let her take them. Not that I have a surplus of clothes at the minute, but we could have made her something out of all this leather I have laying around. But she's on her own now, and she's no longer wild, so I guess I did her a favor. Nearby ambrosia was dying off in the cold snap as well, as I lay down and went to bed. But whatever, I had a large stockpile of that sitting around. I was going to try and harvest it, but it turns out I missed my chance on all that. So I changed my mind, headed back inside. Figured maybe some more research is in order. Be nice, get some kind of communications up so I could talk to people. A caravan showed up about that time, and that was nice. I decided I'd leave some of my doors open in case I got attacked. I'd like the morons come running in through the hallways that built full of traps. So I did that, and then I ran on out, see about talking to these traders. They were interested in all these huskies I had, so I decided I was going to give them to them. I sold a bunch of leather, a little bit of drugs and stuff I had that I wasn't going to use, and I made a decent amount of money off them, so I got that brought on in. After that, it was time to toss some horseshoes once again. It's always a good play. Eases my mind. It makes for a good afternoon. I was pretty stressed thinking about all the cleaning I was going to have to do. All kinds of critters would come running in since I'd opened my door. That was going to be a problem. There was kibble laying around, and somehow they could smell it on the wind, so they were rushing on in. Fast as could be, try and eat it all up. My animals certainly wouldn't defend their own food, so I decided I was going to close my doors once again. Mostly because most of my traps had been destroyed, and that was a big hassle. Turns out I shouldn't have left that door open in the first place. I butchered up some of the critters that had come in and died. Squirrels, raccoons, a whole bunch of other ones that made it past the traps and were running around, eating that kibble. A little bit frustrating. Wasn't much I was going to do about it. I could kill them all, but that seemed like a hassle at the minute. So I was back to bed. Once again, I was going to need to focus on getting those traps rebuilt. When I woke up, Pemmican was in order, as usual, and I did the usual cleaning around the base. Well, place such a mess. I don't like to keep a dirty house. I hate to blame it on Hamlet, but I'm pretty sure he's the main culprit for this mess. I got all those traps rebuilt, still a bunch of dead insects laying around. While I was training an alpaca, I had one of my wires blow up in my kitchen freezer area. My food started burning and my smoke leaves started going up, so I had to get that taken care of. But that's why I built out of stone. At that point, a war merchant showed up as well. I'd failed trying to train that alpaca. There wasn't much I could do about that. Try again later. I ran on out to talk to that war merchant, see if he had anything for me. I sold a bunch of weapons I didn't want, some drugs as well. I cleared him out pretty well. He didn't have any silver left, and I'd got rid of a bunch of junk I didn't want. Carried in that silver. Of course, a bunch more animals were dying on my traps because I'd left my other door open. So I closed that. And the Hamlet was helping me. At least these were big animals. Get some decent meat out of them. My power had gone out due to that exploding line and my battery's draining. I was thinking about that infinite reactor thing. Might be just about the time to go grab that. In the meantime, I got the creatures butchered up. That was an alpaca, a couple gazelles. Make for a lot of meat. The animals are going to need some more kibble since all these other critters had run on in to eat it all. So I made that. And then I was off to bed. Another fine night. It was cold, but it wasn't terribly cold. Still above freezing, so that was good. The cold snap had ended, so I decided to open my doors once again, get my traps rebuilt on the south side of the house. After rebuilding all those, it's time to replant the corn. Didn't want to forget about that. I did not have a ton of vegetables around anymore, so I better get to that as soon as possible. The war merchant waved goodbye and took off. I was trying to train an alpaca again. Then I was back to research. Power was flickering and that was frustrating, as you would expect. The ambrosia had sprouted back to life. I decided to make a bedroll so I could hit the road, see about getting that chemical reactor. And my first attempt was a great success. I made a very nice one out of bear skin. That'll keep a fella warm on the road. Should be pretty cozy. Then I decided to don my armor, which is a hassle by yourself. I need some kind of squire. I put my helmet on as well. And then I decided to get on out. Took my bedroll, some medicine, and some food. And I decided to hit the road. A chemical reactor would be most useful, since my base would not maintain some kind of power. I left the doors open. Should someone attack, they'll step on my traps, hopefully. And I was gone. I left at kind of a bad time. Night fell. And it wasn't long since I'd been gone. People decided to raid my base. But, fortunately, this base can take care of itself. They died on the traps. Left me some decent weapons. I'd have to bury those bodies when I got back. Hopefully, the fire they'd started with their grenades wouldn't cause too much of a mess. But it was catching pretty fast, spreading pretty far. I was traveling down the road. Thoughts of endless power on my brain. Some kind of joy wire, pain stopper thing, whatever that is, I don't know. One of the bodies ended up burning up in the fire, and that was fortuitous. Sadly, they all didn't go, and the fire was still spreading. It did end up burning up all my corn, and I was getting worried about the floors around my wind turbines. A big chunk of jade fell out of the sky as well. That'd be useful, I guess. Not that I didn't have enough jade already. Fortunately, a gentle snow started and put that fire out, so I didn't have to worry about it. Once again, I was happy I'd built everything out of stone, else I'd come back to find nothing left and a bunch of starving, burnt-up animals. Well, eventually, I made it to the location. I didn't see anybody around, but that didn't mean they weren't there. So I crept up, trying to find some cover. Some scary old bear was running around. And guess what? There was no one defending this stuff, so that was useful. Picked up the pain stopper. Turns out, chemical reactor, pretty heavy item. More than a guy can carry. That was a little frustrating. So I started looking around, see what I could find. I claimed the building it was all in, decided I was going to sleep in there. And there were some alpacas nearby, so I thought maybe I could tame one, use it as a pack animal, and carry some stuff back. There wasn't any other kind of animal around that could haul stuff. But there were 4 alpacas, plenty of berries about, so I thought I'd have some decent luck in the training department. Since I had so many animals, I had a great amount of experience training them. I put my bedroll down though. For now, it was time to hit the hay. I was feeling alright. Certainly been worse in my day. Decided to chop down a few trees, see about making myself a horseshoe pin before my mood got too pathetic. Certainly wasn't going to take long at this point. But it was quick work. I got it done. And then I started harvesting up those berries. Planned myself a little spot inside my new building. I put my stuff. There were loads of berries around. Rather fortuitous, if I do say so myself. I'd harvested a ton of them. Then I decided to get right to the taming. I'd like to get home as soon as possible before something else went bad there. I failed on my first attempt, as you'd expect. But those alpacas seemed friendly, so I wasn't worried about it. As I tried again, he looked me in the eye. I think he actually smiled. Success was had. Harvested a bit more berries. Decided I wasn't going to want any additional alpacas. I had my hands full of animals. Fortunately, I'd got rid of all those huskies. Been running around forever, making babies and whatnot. Decided to haul the many berries as I could. There was a maddened ibex back home. That wasn't terribly worrisome. Might be a good thing. Should somebody show up to raid me, that ibex probably go nuts on him. So I laid down, had myself another sleep, my temporary home. Feeling pretty good. I'd brought some ambrosia with, and I eaten some of that. But it was time to plan on getting back home. As soon as I woke up a bit, got some rest in me. Didn't want to leave another bedroll laying around, and this one was a really nice one, so made sure it was in a spot where I wouldn't forget it. Somebody needed some help, was being chased, but there wasn't anything I could do about that from here. Tossed horseshoes one last time, just to get my mood up before I hit the road. I always get crabby when I'm on the road if I don't have nothing to do. Considered a good spot where I could do the packing of all my goods. Got that alpaca together, and with its help, I was able to bring everything back, no problem. It was going to take just over a day to get back home, so I hit the road. All my stuff in tow, and that was fantastic. The visitor came, visited my home. Being that I was gone, though, certainly couldn't go out and say hi. Transport pods were falling out of the sky as well. Once again, though, there wasn't much I could do about that. I just kept on walking, trying to get myself back home as fast as I could before something terrible happened. I thought about pushing through the night. Wasn't meant to be, though. So I had to stop. The next morning, though, didn't take much time, and I was back. As I went in, turns out, a pack of man-hunting angry cobras was there, swarming around. I wasn't too far from them. I had to make a beeline to get on inside, and I was going to slam the door behind me. Things looked a little crispy after the big fire, but at least everything was intact other than the corn. So I closed the doors, and those cobras, smart as they were, started heading the other way. I had to run and close the other door, and after that, put down all the junk I'd brought back, which was quite a bit, all the stuff I'd taken with me. Place was a super mess. I was thinking about a spot. Put that infinite chem reactor. Couldn't put it somewhere it would block one of my turbines, though. That'd be a dumb move. I was just going to set it up outside somewhere. Make some good use of it. Hopefully solve my power issues from now on. Decided to take off all this armor I was wearing. I didn't want it to get too worn out. That left me walking around in a shirt. No pants or underpants on. But I got dressed. Back in my old digs. Decided to chill out. Just relax. Hamlet was putting my armor away for me. Such a good dog. He did miss me, I can tell you that. I got a bandit camp quest with some pretty amazing items. For the minute, though, I had to fix a broken heater. Those cobras are outside, running around like mad. That big crazy thrumbo creature was out there with them. I had a trap to rebuild, so I prepped for that. And then I was off to bed. That llama had taken Hamlet's bed. I was a little miffed at him, but what are you gonna do? All was quiet, and Hamlet had found himself a spot. Despite the cobras out there making crazy moaning noise and whatnot. All in all, I'd say I'd been productive the last few days, and next time I was going to have to focus on some research. After I rebuilt my traps, got rid of some dead bodies that were still laying around, people that tried to assault my home while I was gone. So till next time.